Hi, everyone. This is Coach Cindy Lewis Caballero and Sandy Orlando from CL Performance Training. And the first of our 2025 chats to talk to you about various things to do with training and getting ready for your season. So today we're going to talk about swim skills and drills and swim toys because it's that time of year when everyone's getting back into the pool and starting to focus on their swim training again if they're doing triathlon this year. So we wanted to address some of the things about drills and skills that sometimes we see in our workouts, but we don't necessarily know why we're doing them, what they're for, how to do them properly. So today we're going to talk to Coach Cindy about that, and I'm going to ask her questions, and she's going to give you all the lowdown on things. So first of all, kick sets, with or without the board. What's the deal with those? Why so many kick sets?
Well, good question, because I think every triathlete hates kick sets. Most of us have ankles that don't bend very much from all the running we do, and so we don't love kicking. We tend not to go very fast. So there's a couple of reasons for kicking. Sometimes we do kick sets with a board, and a lot of the reason for that is to work on recruiting the right muscle groups, your core, kicking from the hips, getting stronger as a kicker. When you use a kickboard, obviously your body position isn't quite the same as when you're swimming. So if you're working on body position, which is another reason for doing kick drills, we do them without a board. So you'll do them with your head underwater, arms out front, or on your back even, and you'll work on body position with a small kick. And as I say that, I always think of things that triathletes need to often correct. And one of them is when we do kick, because we don't tend to go very fast, we think we need to make a big, huge kick when really we want to practice a quick, small kick like that to be a little bit more efficient.
Okay, good. So next one is pull boy. And just for anyone who is not familiar, this is a pull boy. And so why are we using those?
Again, two reasons. One is to work on upper body strength. So if you use the pull buoy, you're not kicking. So you're using your upper body only. So you can develop shoulder strength that way. Another reason we use a pull buoy goes along with my answer for number one. We tend as triathletes not to be strong kickers. So it tends to sometimes mess with our stroke and our body balance in the water. So we can put the pull buoy between our legs and use that to stop us from kicking and allow us to focus on our technique with the upper body without the kick messing with our balance in the water.
Got it. So sometimes it's a pull buoy with a band.
Yeah.
So putting a band around your ankles and really getting yourself tied up there. What's the deal with that?
That makes you recruit your core muscles more, makes you use your core and your hips to drive your rotation more. Do not cheat. So you'll see people doing kick sets with kick going on too. Stops you from doing that. But more than anything, the reason I would give pull buoy sets with a band is to work on core activation and encourage more of a drive of that rotation from the core and from the hips than using that kick to help or do the opposite.
So when you take the pull buoy away and it's just the band, so your ankles are just tied together, now what?
That is a totally different thing to do. So that messes up your stroke. It makes your feet sink down towards the bottom of the pool. And a couple of reasons for that. The biggest one being developing strength. So basically you do that and it's like going to the gym and lifting weights. Makes your body feel like it weighs a whole lot more as you drag it towards the other end of the pool. In order to move that body that's now dragging through the water, you need to optimize different parts of your swim stroke, such as your catch, which we always talk about being the most important part of your stroke. If you have a band on and your catch, this part of your stroke is not solid and efficient, you'll have a really hard time moving to the end of the pool. So it makes you optimize your catch. And it also makes you increase your stroke rate. So a lot of us, our stroke rate is long and lopey, and we need to practice increasing the cadence of our swim stroke. So putting that band on makes us do that as well. Or again, the more time there is between strokes, the more time there is for you to sink to the bottom of the pool when you have that band on.
So suffering through all of the difficulty of all of these toys that make things harder makes us stronger, as well as have a better awareness of what's going on with our stroke.
Yep.
That's fair.
And
Okay.
you're not supposed to feel good swimming with a band. So when I give those to an athlete and they're like, "Oh, I feel terrible. My form fell right apart." Well, it's supposed to. It's not supposed to feel good. What's supposed to happen is you're supposed to feel like you're using, that upper body strength a ton. And like I said before, doing a strength workout in the pool and optimizing those different parts of your stroke that you can then integrate into a bandless swim and feel a whole lot more efficient.
Okay, so once we, speaking of strength, let's talk about paddles. So putting the paddles on your hands and using those, a couple of different reasons for that.
That's right. Seems like everything has a couple of reasons. Sometimes we use paddles just to slow things down. So if you're trying to work on your rotation or work on the rhythm of your swim stroke, work on any little piece really, the paddles can help to just slow it all down, put it in slow motion a little bit to allow you to focus a little bit more on those parts of your swim stroke. The second reason, and the most common reason, is to build strength as well. So putting those paddles on, suddenly it makes your hand a whole lot bigger. Therefore, you're pulling a whole lot more water with each stroke. Works on, again, upper body strength.
Okay. There are different kinds of paddles, and some of them, sometimes people talk about it helps you understand if your placement in the water, you're going into the water is straight or not. Is that also the case with paddles?
Yeah, so you can use paddles. So if you have paddles, you see that there's a spot for your fingers to go in, and then there's another strap around your wrist. You can choose to use them without that wrist strap to work more on, is my hand entering properly? Because if it's not, that paddle is going to shift off your hand. You can buy paddles specifically for that, or you can just use the paddles you have and not attach that wrist strap. There are other paddles that, people just put on their fingertips that are also to help with entry versus the ones that cover your whole hand that are more for strength. Along with that part of the conversation is there's paddles in all kinds of different sizes. And that's really important because if you've never used a paddle before and you go buy the biggest ones because you want to get to be the strongest swimmer in the pool, you're going to hurt your shoulders. So just like in the gym, if you start doing a bicep curl, you don't start with the 50-pound dumbbells, you start with the 10s. You want to start with a smaller paddle, build your strength gradually, and gradually increase the size of those paddles the more and more miles you put in with them.
Okay, good. So that makes everything harder. Let's talk about fins.
Yes.
They make things easier. And one thing I've learned is you have to put them on the right way, not upside down. That's what this little thing at the back is for. So what are the fins? What are we doing with those?
So the fins are another way to kind of take kicking out of the equation. So you don't have to think about it as much. You don't have to kick as hard to feel like your body's high in the water. So you can focus more on upper body technique. That's one thing they're good for. They certainly are good for building power in your kick. As triathletes, we don't do that as much because we don't use our kick so much to propel ourselves forward. We don't want to because we want to save our legs for the bike and the run. What we want to use the kick for is just to keep our body in the right position in the water. I tend to use fins with athletes a lot for learning body position. So one of the problems that a lot of triathletes have is they tend to be too deep in the water, and really we want to be as far out of the water as possible. So if you put fins on and do your swim, you'll notice that it just lifts you up, and just feeling that and understanding what that feels like helps you to then take the fins off and incorporate that feeling into your regular swim workout as well.
So they're really not there to get your workout done faster and get it over with.
No. And if you have a kick set in your workout that just says kick, you're not supposed to use the fins.
Yeah, these toys can often be used as crutches, I think, right? So that's we have to be careful using them. So some of the other things that are drills, and one of my personal favorites is swimming just with fists or holding balls in your hands.
And
Why
that's
am I doing that?
that's one of the best ways to develop your catch. And if you're not sure, again, your catch is that first part of your swim stroke and the most important, because if you don't have a good catch, you have no water to pull. It doesn't do you any good to push down like that, right? Catch, pull the water back. So when you swim with fists, suddenly you don't have your hands to pull the water. So if you don't have your hands and you don't have a good catch, you're just going to sink. So you have to get your catch so then you can pull the water with that whole forearm. So the more surface area you have to pull water, the more water you're going to pull and the faster you're going to end up moving forward. So the fist drill is a really good one to do, even though we tend to hate doing it because it makes us go slow. It's a really good drill to incorporate into your warm-ups to work on that catch.
Yep. And so catch focus, when we have in our workout with a catch focus, what are we looking exactly to do there?
So you're focusing on a certain part of your stroke. There's so many pieces of the stroke, it can be confusing to like focus on 5 or 10 things at once. So it's, again, as you go into the water, immediately get your forearm vertical, right? Go in, get your forearm vertical. That's your setup. And then your power starts to happen. So anytime you're focusing on your catch, you're focusing on getting that forearm vertical quickly, efficiently, so that the rest of your swim stroke is effective.
So then let's talk about the 10 and 2 hand entry then.
So 10 and 2 hand entry, I tend to give a lot to. And the reason for that is a lot of people cross over. For sure, you've heard about, I don't want to cross over when I swim. But even when we think we're not crossing over and we think we're entering right in front of the shoulder, which is where you want to be entering, we tend to often be across the center line. So what 10 and 2 means is that if you're looking at a clock, you want to enter at 2 o'clock and at 10 o'clock. And most swimmers, if they think they're entering at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, end up entering right in front of their shoulders, which is where you want to be. So that's what that 10 and 2 is focusing on.
So it's all about mindfulness.
Yeah.
So then we have a 6-1-6 drill.
And that is working on rotation and feeling the water. So what that means is, when you swim, you want to rotate side to side. And you do not need to rotate fully onto your side. So you're literally lying like that and like that. But you want to go, side to side so that you can get that power from the core and from the lats and get that efficient movement through the water. So what 6-1-6 does is when you take that stroke and you end up on your side, you stay there and you do 6 kicks on that side while you feel that grip on the water. Okay. Then you're going to go take a stroke. And again, lie on that side, shoulder right up next to the ear, feeling a grip on the water, 6 kicks into the next one. So you're just delaying that time between one stroke and the other so you can feel and exaggerate feeling that grip on the water and being in that rotated position.
Okay, great. So then a side kick drill, same thing?
Same thing, yes.
And that's really meant to just keep your ear right on your shoulder and practice keeping that, that up there.
And, an important point with that, which I'm trying to get at too, with all the catch talking, you want to feel like you always have a grip on the water. So never should you be on your side like this, right? You should always have your elbow, your shoulder above your elbow above your wrist above the hand slightly, so that you always feel like you're gripping the water and you're never just hanging out there with your arm up, right? Mm-hmm. At no point should we not feel like we have a grip on the water when we're swimming with one hand or the other. So when you're kicking on your side, like Sandie said, shoulder right up to the ear, elbow above the wrist, above the hand, just slightly.
I think you told me one time that if you end up at the end of your swim session and you've got chafing from your swimsuit, I guess if you're female, I don't think guys would have this, but then you're doing it right.
Yeah, you've got your shoulder up nice and high and you're able to activate those lats.
Yeah, great. So the one question, the biggie question for all triathletes, are flip turns necessary? Are we doing them or not doing them? Do we care?
So, we're not going to flip turn in the open water in a race. That's true. But what flip turning does is it keeps you going. When we take a pause and put our head up and turn around and change direction, even if we try to do it fast, we're still taking a little bit of a break. So what a flip turn does is it just makes the swimming more continuous. So it is worth working on, besides the fact that it makes you look cool in the pool.
And that's the name of the game, guys.
Yeah.
So if you want to look cool in the pool, doing a swim clinic in February. Details will be on our website. We'll send out a newsletter and social to promote it. But basically, it's going to be taking people through all of these kinds of drills. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner swimmer or even the best swimmers in the world. You still need to repeat and go back to these drills sometimes just to make sure that your technique is right. And a refresher is always a good thing, especially beginning of the training season, to make sure that you're doing things right rather than reinforcing some bad habits. So that information will be coming out to you shortly. You can find more information. Over to you, Cindy.
Yeah, so you can always go to our website as well, clperformancetraining.com. That'll have a list of our clinics and camps that are taking place on there. You can always email us. If you don't want to click the registration link, just email us for more information, or we can help you register. And you can find us at clperformancetraining@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing some great swim improvements in 2025 for all our athletes.
Great. Thanks, everyone, and happy training.